Have you ever asked an AI to make you a chart, and what you got back was, well, a complete mess? Yeah, you're not alone. Turns out, creating a really clear, effective visualization is a massive challenge, even for the smartest AIs. But what if you could have an AI that teaches other AIs how to do it right? Today, we're diving into a really cool breakthrough framework called C2, which is designed to do exactly that.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the challenge itself. Then we'll get into C2's really smart two-part solution. We'll look at its main components, the AI coach, and this data goldmine. And then we'll look at the proof that yes, it actually works. And finally, we'll wrap up with why this is such a big deal.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of the problem. I mean, why is it that these incredibly powerful models that can write code and poetry just fall flat when you ask for a simple, good-looking chart?
Well, unlike just asking for a picture of a cat on a skateboard, making a genuinely useful chart is a whole different ballgame. It isn't just about looking pretty. It's about clarity, it's about purpose, and it's about telling a story with data, which is actually a really complex skill.
And the first huge problem is the data itself. You know, to teach an AI to make an image, it's pretty simple. You just need an instruction and the final image. But for a chart? Oh no, you need this whole three-part recipe: the instruction from the user, the raw data itself, and the code that actually builds the chart. Finding all three of those things together in high quality is super rare and expensive, and that's been a massive roadblock.
So, to get around this roadblock, researchers came up with this really elegant new framework they call C2. It's a clever system that's designed to make better charts without needing a giant library of perfect handmade examples.
Okay, so this diagram, figure 1, basically shows you the whole magic trick. Let's walk through it. Over on the left, a user gives a query. The AI's first try is that initial chart in the middle. You can see it's kind of messy, not great. But then it gets fed into the C2 feedback system. And what comes out the other side is that clean, clear post-feedback chart. And here is the absolute key. This is reference-free feedback. The system isn't copying a perfect chart, it's improving the bad one based on solid design principles.
So at its heart, C2 is really a team. It's got two parts that work together. First, you have ShardAF, which acts like an automated coach giving feedback. And then you have ShardTwee8K, which is this huge diverse data set that acts like a massive training gym for the AI.
All right, let's zoom in on that first piece, ShardAF. The best way to think of it is like an expert art critic that doesn't just say, nope, that's bad. It tells you exactly why it's bad and how to fix it, all on its own.
This diagram, figure 2, is like popping the hood on ShardAF. You can see the whole process. It starts on the left by taking in the user's request and breaking it down into its core components: the task, the purpose, and the audience. Then, it judges the AI's first attempt against those goals to come up with a score. And finally, on the right, it turns that score into super specific code-level advice for the AI, telling it exactly what code to keep, what to edit, what to throw out, and what to add.
So it's basically this beautiful three-step dance. First, it truly understands what the user wants. Second, it grades the chart against a smart checklist. And third, it gives back concrete, actionable advice on the code level. It's incredibly specific, which is what makes it so powerful.
But, you know, a great coach needs great training material, right? And that brings us to the second half of C2, the dataset ShardTwee8K. This is the rich practice field where the AI gets to apply all that coaching from ShardAF.
So how do you even create thousands of realistic user requests? Well, this diagram shows their brilliant solution. They essentially built a user emulator to act like a real person. If you follow the steps, the emulator makes a request, then the AI asks a clarifying question, just like a real person would, and the emulator responds. It's this back-and-forth conversation that creates a data set that feels so much more real and diverse than just a list of simple commands.
And the result? I mean, just look at these numbers. This data set completely blows the old benchmarks out of the water. We are talking about a nearly 6,000% jump in the number of queries. That kind of scale and diversity is exactly what you need to train an AI to become truly great at a task.
Okay, so the theory is fantastic. The numbers are huge. But did it actually work in practice? Did the C2 framework actually make better charts? Let's have a look at the results.
Well, the human evaluators spoke loud and clear. When people were shown a before and after chart, a massive 84% of them preferred the one that got feedback from ChartOff. In fact, 74% didn't just prefer it, they strongly preferred it. That's a landslide.
And when they pitted ChartOff's feedback against 9 other methods, it wasn't even a close fight. Just look at this table. For top models like GPT-4o and Claude 3.5, ChartOff's feedback gives a positive score. Meanwhile, the best alternative methods actually have negative scores, meaning they often made the charts worse.
Yep, we're showing this number again because it's just that important. Nearly 6,000%. It's worth repeating because it's not just about having more data, it's about having better data that reflects the messy, nuanced ways that real people actually ask for things. This diversity is the fuel for the whole system.
And to make sure they got it right, they just asked real users. The results were incredible. A full 93% agreed that the emulated requests felt realistic, and 94% said they actually preferred the conversational style of asking for things.
So we've seen the problem, we've seen the solution, and we've seen the proof. But what's the big picture here? Why does this matter beyond just making some prettier charts? Well, this framework is a really big deal.
The impact of C2 is huge. First, by automating feedback, it completely breaks that expensive bottleneck of needing humans for everything. That makes it possible to create these massive, truly realistic datasets. But maybe the most exciting part is what this means for the future. It proves we can teach an AI to grade its own complex, subjective work. And that creates this amazing loop where even our best models can teach themselves to get even better.
At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. C2 makes it possible to automatically turn messy, complicated data into a clear, insightful picture. It helps us find the hidden stories in all that information, and makes understanding it just a little bit easier for everyone.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating question. If AI can get this good at visual storytelling with data, what other complex topics is it going to help us understand next? That mission, making complex knowledge clear and accessible, is something we're really passionate about. And if you're passionate about getting that same kind of clarity in the world of health and wellness, I highly recommend you check out and subscribe to our friends over at VibeDoc. They're doing amazing work.